Atrast Vala, brothers and sisters, I am Desher Tarat. My videos pertain to all things related to the Dragon Age series. The content my channel provides assumes you've already played at least one of the Dragon Age games, so this is the blanket spoiler warning for the video. If you want to help grow my channel, feel free to comment below with suggestions and other video ideas. Now that that's out of the way, let's get into it. Welcome to another episode of Dragon Age Builds. Today we're going to be introducing a personal favorite of mine. Well, honestly, any build with Arcane Warrior is a favorite of mine. And today, that is the Keeper Wannabe. I'll be telling you about the Wannabe's skills, abilities, specializations, relationships, and choices. The Keeper Wannabe, as her name implies, is an elven mage who wants to be a keeper in a Dalish clan, but she has to start somewhere, and that somewhere is Lothering. The Wannabe was an elf from a Lothering farming family. The Wannabe had been taken at a rather young age, her magic being discovered when there were some humans trying to bully her father. The Wannabe just wanted them to stop. She screamed at them and lit them on fire. They thankfully didn't die, but man were they burned. The Templars were quick on their arrival, arriving within only a few days. The Wannabe was taken from her family rather swiftly. She remembered giving her mother and father a goodbye hug and kiss before she left. She would keep in touch with her family by sending letters and later money she made from her research. She was only 6 when she left for the tower. She has fleeting memories of her life on the farm, but for the most part she only remembers her parents because she wrote letters to them. She'd be unable to pick them out from a crowd even if she wanted to. This writing was how she kept in touch with them for a majority of her time at the Circle. After a few years, she received the exciting news that her parents were with child. She was so ecstatic for them. And herself. She was gonna be a big sister. The Wannabe's time in the Circle was spent reading a lot. She didn't have much better to do other than read and study. She managed to find a book on the Dalish and felt herself resonating with their plight. Removed from their homeland without much second thought, she was reminded of how she was taken from her home. She heard of their life where mages were open, hunting ancient treasures, and that they were able to be with their loved ones. A fascination for her, however, was the faith of these Dalish. She only really experienced Andrastianism, and while she was indifferent to the faith, felt that it was partially her fault that she was torn away from her family. While the Chantry scrolls were really thorough, she felt that the Dalish lore was more rich than that of the Maker, and more in the sense that the stories she had heard about the Maker were more of what his followers did, not what he himself did. The Wannabe was ultimately enamored by it all, trying to find any way to leave the tower to go out and live amongst the Dalish. The Wannabe had found and befriended a human mage, Jowan, and enjoyed him and his dorky nature. She never felt a particular attachment to him though, and really only found that his studying style had jived well enough with her own. Jowan and the Wannabe had become very close friends over time, and they managed to do very good with each other when practicing. Although she never shared with him her desire to leave this life behind and go out to live amongst the Dalish, the Wannabe had felt that he had enjoyed his time here, or so she thought. Eventually, however, the Wannabe had been called for her harrowing. She was actually rather young for passing her harrowing, at the young age of 20 even. She had managed to outwit the demon inside and escaped with her mind and body intact. After completion, she was pleased with Jowan's desire to leave the Circle. Sure, he had found love and that's all fine and dandy, but she was more intrigued with the idea of leaving the Circle behind and escaping to live amongst the Dalish. She willingly assists him and does not tell the first enchanter about it, hoping to escape with him and leave for the Brazilian forest when she can. However, upon entry to the room, she was disappointed to find out her own phylactery had already been moved to Denerim. This sorely disappointed her, as it meant that she would never truly be free. When she finds out Jowan's use of blood magic, she feels utterly fascinated by it, if a bit hurt by his dishonesty. She had read that the Dalish practiced some forms of blood magic. She ultimately, however, resigned to her fate. Her hopes were crushed and her dreams were gone, and she couldn't be among the Dalish. It was just all pointless to her. However, as it turned out, Duncan invoked the right of conscription on her. She was relieved. While she had no care for the Grey Wardens, it meant that she could be finally free. That's the backstory of the Wannabe. Here we will be talking about the results to quests, relationships, skills, and abilities. After Ostagar, the mage would do everything she could to help Lothering. She knew it was her hometown and wanted to make sure it was as best prepared as it could be. She even managed to find her parents at some point, well, before she killed those thieves that called themselves toll collectors, and had a good time with them, even meeting her little brother. She warned her family of the impending danger and told them to go anywhere that wasn't here. She gave them what little she could afford to give them, much to Morgan's dismay, and they set off to places unknown. The Wannabe knew she would never see them again, but was glad to know that they'd be safe. life. They parted ways much like she did all those years ago, a hug and a kiss. She gave her little brother a keepsake and told him that it kept her strong all her years in the tower, so it would keep him strong too. When the Wannabe would return to the Circle of Magi, she would side with the mages primarily because she found some of her friends untainted. None of her friends actually turned, but most did die from the blood mages. She instead opted to kill every single blood mage, showing no mercy to those who would hurt their fellow mages. And while Jowan had used blood magic to explode himself around everyone, no one actually died and they were just merely unconscious. These Maleficarum were killing everyone they could and they deserved no mercy. She would be excited about Alistair's royal heritage, primarily because she thought it would be so cool for her to know a prince. All of those stories of the unwanted bastard child rising to power she had read in the tower. She knew she would be able to use this later, but not to the extent that Arl Eamon would suggest later on. During the Arl of Redcliffe questline, upon discovering Jowan, she immediately lets him leave. No questions asked. She felt Jowan deserved so much more for suffering as much as he did. She loved him like a brother and wanted to see him set free. She does not tell him she never wants to see him again because she kinda does. He's her friend. Should she have not completed the questline for the mages yet, she would opt to kill Isolde to free Connor, primarily because he reminds her of her little brother. If the option is available, she would go to the Mage Tower and ask for help. Regardless, she herself would choose to step into the Fade and kill the demon. During the Urn of Sacred Ashes, she refuses to desecrate the urn. It's the holy relic of a faith she grew up with. And while she may not necessarily care for it, she does have a deep respect for it. She instead kills every cultist she can, because she wants to. Recruiting the Dalish for her is a rather exciting task. She gets to help the Dalish and learn more about their culture from them, and she is so thrilled about it. She assists everyone in the camp to the best of her ability. She will be blinded by her love of Dalish culture, trying to cut out Witherfang's heart. She will be noticeably hostile towards the werewolves. The Wannabe sees this as her chance to impress Zathrian as a keeper, and be fully accepted by the Dalish. After making her way to the cavern, she explores a little, trying to find out about the ruins there. She finds a small gem that housed a soul and helps it reach oblivion as she learns the magical ways of which it held. When entering the room, the werewolves offer her a chance to parley. However, she is so blinded by her desire to be approved by Zathrian, she refuses, and simply cuts through the werewolves, taking Witherfang's heart and giving it to Zathrian, hoping that it would impress him. During Orzammar, the Wannabe finds herself overall disinterested in the political landscape and implores both sides for aid in the Blight. After finding out that neither side will budge until she assists one of them, she becomes so frustrated that she ends up just siding with Balin because he at least will allow the supposed nobodies to fight. She eagerly trudges off to the Anvil, being away from the politics of all of Orzammar, only to find out there are even more politics within the Anvil itself. She chooses to side with Caridin because it's the closest thing to venting her frustrations against the Dwarven people by destroying one of their ancient relics. After returning with the crown, she presents it to Balin and just asks for her damn troops already. During the Land's Meet, she kills the slavers, feeling personally insulted with the enslavement of other elves. She sets up Alistair to be the king on his own and tries to convince Alistair to sleep with Morrigan for the dark ritual so that they both can live. If she fails to do so, she will choose to die instead. During Awakening, she will upgrade the keep but not go out of her way to do so. So if you really want to keep the keep upgraded, I recommend you kind of put things in her way so that everyone will survive. She will save the city of Amaranthine because she is well aware of the stigma against elves, and feels that if she were to abandon the city, this would only increase tension. The Wannabe is a rather interesting leader figure for the party, as she does a lot to help everyone she can, although she's a little more airheaded about it. The Wannabe will recruit Leliana, Wynn, Barkspawn, Zevran, Sten, and Shale. She will also recruit Oghren, even though she's kind of pissed at Dwarvenkind when she first meets him. The Wannabe finds Morrigan's shape-shifting magic fascinating and wants to learn how to do it because she read that it's similar to some of the magic keepers would use. She does do Morrigan's personal quest as well. She considers taking the grimoire for herself, and even considers lying to Morrigan for it. If she thinks she's a good liar, she'll do it, but if she doesn't think she's a good liar, she will fight Flemeth to obtain it. Zevran is the go-to boy for this build, and while he does not consider himself Dalish, she considers him Dalish enough. For awakening relationships, the Wannabe will take a fascination with Valana and try her best to please her and gain her friendship. The Wannabe will also recruit everyone she can with reservations towards Hal until she considers the idea of putting him through the joining. She immediately uses the rite of conscription on Anders as she really resonates with him and his desire for freedom. Now that we have the relationships out of the way, we're going to start building up the skills to pay those bills. For skills, you're going to want to put points in herbalism and coercion, and after all of those are taken care of, she'll put the rest into combat training. For abilities and specializations, the Wannabe will take Arcane Bolt and Arcane Shield, maxing out the Fire and Cold tree. She will also take all the glyph spells and go up to Virulent Walking Bomb, taking Mind Blast as well. She will also go up to Death Siphon in the Entropy skill tree. The Keeper will take a fascination with Elven magic, and as such she will take up the Arcane Warrior specialization for certain and the Shape-Shifting specialization. This is primarily for role-playing reasons. However, another specialization you could go for is the Blood Magic specialization, as there have been Keepers who do utilize blood magic. The specialization for Awakening will be the Keeper, but I think you figured that out already. However, if you're feeling patient, you can also get the Battle Mage as well with the Keeper, skipping out on the other two specializations in Origins and just sticking with the Arcane Warrior up until Awakening. Unless you watched my mods that I used video and have installed Awakening in the OC. Link to that is in the description below, or the eye bubble thing that I could never figure out what that's actually called. Alright, that wraps up everything for this build. Have any build suggestions, comments, questions, channel recommendations? If so, hit me up on Twitter at @DesherTarat or leave a comment below. Thank you so much for watching my video, and God bless you. Have a good day.